Matt, welcome back to the AEO podcast. We're talking about something that's got a lot of e-commerce marketers on edge, Google's AI overviews. For our listeners who might not be fully up to speed, can you just explain what an AI overview actually is?
Absolutely. Think of it like this. You used to ask Google a question, and it would give you 10 blue links to websites where you might find the answer. An AI overview is Google's attempt to just give you the answer directly, right at the top of the page. It's a synthesized summary generated by their AI that pulls information from various websites and presents it in a neat box.
So it's basically doing the research for the user, so they don't have to click through to my site anymore.
Exactly. That's the core of the concern. The value proposition for the user is incredible convenience. The value proposition for a website that used to get that click, however, has fundamentally changed.
And the data is already showing that impact, right?
It's stark. According to a study by BrightEdge, for queries where an AI overview appears, we're seeing a 61% drop in organic clicks to websites. That's a massive shift in traffic patterns happening almost overnight.
61%? That's huge. So which types of sites are being hit the hardest by this?
Well, the same BrightEdge study found that a staggering 84% of AI overviews actually cite e-commerce websites as their source. So it's not just informational blogs, it's product pages, best of lists, and buying guides from online stores that are feeding these answers. They're providing the data but potentially losing the visitor.
That seems counterintuitive. Why would an e-commerce site, which wants to sell things, be cited for informational answers?
That's a great point. It often comes down to detailed product comparisons versus content or advice on what to buy for a specific need. For example, a query like, "What are the best running shoes for flat feet?" might have been a huge traffic driver for a site like REI. Now, Google's AI might pull specs, pros, and cons from their buying guide and display it, making the click less necessary.
So if my product page is being used as a source, is there any upside to that? A citation seems like it might be good.
It's a form of branding, for sure. But a citation isn't a click, and a click isn't a conversion. The immediate measurable impact is that drastic drop in organic traffic. We're already seeing case studies like with Lush, where they had to pivot their entire SEO strategy away from these informational keywords because the traffic simply vanished.
This sounds like a completely new playing field. So what's the first thing a marketer should be looking at?
The first step is understanding your own exposure. You need to analyze which of your key queries are now triggering these AI overviews in Google's Search Generative Experience, or SGE. That's where the 61% drop is happening. You have to identify the vulnerable parts of your traffic.
So, Matt, if these AI overviews are taking so many clicks, what kind of content is Google's AI actually using to build these answers? Is it just pulling from the top organic result?
That's the most important question, and the answer is surprising. It's not just the number one organic link. According to a BrightEdge study, a massive 84% of AI overviews actually cite e-commerce websites as their source. So product pages, category pages, best of lists from retailers. They are the fuel for this engine.
84%? That seems incredibly high. So it's favoring commercial content, the stuff people are trying to sell?
Exactly, but there's a huge twist. Another analysis, this one from Seer Interactive, found that 90% of AI overview answers also use content from forums and discussion platforms like Reddit.
Wait, 90% from Reddit? But you just said 84% from e-commerce sites. How does that add up? That seems contradictory.
It's not either or, it's both. The AI is building a composite answer. Think of it like this. Google's AI is acting as the ultimate researcher. For a query like best moisturizer for dry skin, it will pull product recommendations and specs from e-commerce sites. That's the commercial data. But then it will weave in real, unfiltered user experiences from Reddit threads talking about texture, how it feels hours later, things you can't get from a product description. It's merging the commercial with the conversational.
So it's valuing that raw, authentic user experience just as much as the official product data.
That's a great point. It's a fundamental shift in what Google considers authoritative. It's no longer just about domain authority or perfect SEO formatting. It's about providing a genuine, comprehensive answer that blends the what to buy with the why to buy it, based on collective human experience.
Okay, that makes sense. So, for a brand, the goal is to have your content be one of those cited sources. But if you're not a massive forum, how do you even begin to compete for that spot?
You have to create the content the AI wants to cite. This goes back to the Lush case study. For commercial keywords, you need incredibly detailed product information, comparisons, and data presented in a clear, structured way. But you also need to incorporate that authentic, user-generated perspective. That means featuring detailed customer reviews, hosting Q&A sections on product pages, maybe even creating content that directly addresses common forum questions.
So, you're saying brands almost need to become a bit more like a forum themselves.
Precisely. You need to satisfy both sides of the equation, the cold, hard facts and the warm human truth. Because if you don't, the AI will just go to Reddit to get the human part and someone else's site to get the product part, and you'll get zero credit for either. You have to be the one-stop shop for the AI's research.
That is a massive change in content strategy. So, once a brand understands this new composite style of answer, what's the actual tactical first step to getting on their radar?
The first step is a brutal and honest audit of your existing content through this new lens. You have to ask,
So, this audit you're talking about, what exactly are we looking for? What does good look like to this AI?
you're looking for two very distinct types of content on the same page. First, you need the raw, authentic human experience. Think about the questions a real person would ask on a forum. Does this foundation work for oily skin? Or will these hiking boots last through a wet Scottish trek? That's the Reddit-style content it craves.
And the second part?
The second part is the cold, hard, structured data. The product specifications, the materials, the dimensions, the price, everything. You have to present both because according to the analysis from Seer Interactive, a staggering 90% of AI overview answers use content from forums and discussion platforms like Reddit. The AI is going there for the human truth.
90%? That's almost all of them. So, you're saying we literally need to create Reddit on our own product pages?
Exactly, but a curated, trustworthy version of it. You need a robust Q&A section populated with real questions and detailed answers. You need customer reviews that go beyond 5 stars and actually describe the experience of using the product in the real world. You need to embed that community discussion directly onto your site so the AI doesn't have to leave to find it.
That makes sense for the human element. But what about the data side? How do we make sure the AI can understand our product specs?
That's where schema markup becomes non-negotiable. It's the language the AI speaks to understand what a product is. You have to tag everything: the price, the availability, the reviews, the SKU. It's the difference between just saying this boot is waterproof on the page and having a structured data tag that explicitly states material, Gore-Tex. The latter is a clear, trustworthy signal.
So, the first tactical step is this dual audit. Do we have authentic, forum-like content, and is all of our product data perfectly tagged with schema?
That's the foundation. You have to close the loop, become the source for both the subjective opinion and the objective fact. If you can do that on a page, you dramatically increase your odds of being that one-stop shop the AI recommends in its overview.
And for a brand that does this successfully, what does winning actually look like? How do you even measure it?
That's the next crucial piece of the puzzle because the old metrics simply don't apply anymore.
So, if the old metrics don't apply, what should brands be looking at instead? Is it just about tracking a drop in organic traffic?
That's exactly the right question. You can't just stare at a traffic graph anymore. The new key performance indicator is inclusion. Specifically, are you being cited as a source in the AI overview itself? Because according to the BrightEdge study, 84% of these overviews cite e-commerce websites. That's your new prime real estate.
84%? That's huge. But how do you even track that? It's not like a traditional link you can see in Google Search Console.
Right, it's a different beast. You need to monitor for what we call AI impressions. Tools like BrightEdge and others are now tracking this. The goal is to see your brand name or URL appearing in that source list. That's a direct signal that Google's AI trusts your content enough to synthesize it for millions of users. A single citation can be more valuable than a #1 organic ranking for some queries, especially when you consider the 61% drop in organic clicks for those terms.
So, you're saying a brand could see its traffic for a term go down, but that could actually be a good thing if it's because they're now the source inside the AIO?
Precisely. You're trading a large number of lower funnel clicks for a massive top of funnel brand impression. Think of it like being the expert a news channel brings on for a quote. The entire audience sees you as the authority, even if they don't all click through, but the ones with strong commercial intent will. This is where we see a shift in strategy, like with the Lush case study.
What did they do?
They saw a significant drop in organic traffic for informational queries, things like what soap is best for sensitive skin. Those were now being answered directly in the AI overview, so they pivoted. They doubled down on commercial and navigational intent keywords, the ones less likely to trigger an AIO like buy Lush sleep soap or just Lush cosmetics. You protect your commercial core while competing for authority in the new AI powered informational space.
It sounds like you have to be in two places at once.
You do. It's a dual strategy, and it requires a new dashboard. You measure AI impressions and citations for informational content, and you defend your traditional click-based metrics for commercial queries. The brands that win will be the ones who stop mourning the lost clicks and start celebrating the new, massive Quan way they can earn. And that leads directly into how you actually adapt your entire SEO playbook for this.
So, Matt, if I'm understanding this right, brands need to create this new type of answer content to earn citations. But what does that content actually look like? What's the secret sauce that makes Google's AI pick one source over another?
That's the million-dollar question. And the answer might surprise you because it often isn't polished corporate content. According to an analysis by Seer Interactive, a staggering 90% of AI overview answers use content from forums and discussion platforms like Reddit.
90%? That's almost all of them. Why would an AI prefer a Reddit thread over a carefully researched article from a major brand?
Exactly. It's counterintuitive. But think about it from the AI's perspective. Its primary goal is to provide a helpful, direct, and conversational answer. Forum posts are written by real people, for real people. They're filled with firsthand experience, step-by-step instructions, and comparisons, exactly the kind of nuanced, practical information a searcher wants. A corporate FAQ page might say, our product is made with high quality materials. A Reddit user will say, I've had this jacket for 3 winters. It survived daily dog walks, and here's how the zipper held up. I serve Shingrat Stasiwar, I'd.
So it's about authenticity and depth of experience.
Precisely. The AI is trained to recognize and value that authentic user experience. This is a huge opportunity, but also a challenge for e-commerce sites. You can't just fake it. You have to actually cultivate that depth of information. This is where tools like Google's own search generative experience become a critical part of the research process to see what kind of real-world content is being surfaced for your key terms.
Okay, so for a site selling products, how do they start creating content that can compete with a Reddit thread?
You have to become the forum. You have to showcase the real world use. This means massively expanding beyond basic product specs. You need detailed how-to guides written by actual users, not marketers. You need to encourage and prominently feature customer reviews that tell a story. You need to create comparison charts that honestly pit your product against a competitor's. You need content that answers the question you hope a customer would ask your most knowledgeable employee.
And we have a real example of a brand that felt this impact and is trying to adapt, right?
We do. A great case study is Lush. They saw a significant drop in organic traffic for those informational queries now served by AI overviews, queries like how to use a shampoo bar. Their response was a smart part of that dual strategy we mentioned. They shifted SEO resources to focus more on commercial and navigational intent keywords, which are less affected for now, while also beginning the longer process of building up that library of citable experiential content.
It's like they're building their own internal citable Reddit.
That's a perfect way to put it. Because if you're not that source, you're likely part of the 61% organic click drop BrightEdge measured. The goal is to be the cited authority, not the overlooked link.
So if the goal is to be that cited source, what kind of content actually gets pulled into these AI overviews? Is it just product pages?
It's a really important distinction. For commercial queries, yes, product pages from e-commerce sites are heavily cited. In fact, the BrightEdge study found that 84% of AI overviews cite e-commerce websites as their source. But for the vast number of informational queries, the data tells a very different story.
What do you mean?
Our own analysis at Seer Interactive found that a massive 90% of AI overview answers use content from forums and discussion platforms like Reddit. Think about questions like best shampoo for curly hair or how to clean a stainless steel grill. People want real, unfiltered advice from other people who have tried it.
So, Google's AI is essentially crowdsourcing its answers from these communities. But why? What makes a Reddit thread so valuable to an algorithm?
Exactly. It's the depth of experience. A forum post isn't just stating a fact, it's often a narrative. It's someone explaining their entire problem, what they tried that failed, and what finally worked. That's a rich vein of context and nuance that a standard, professionally written blog post often lacks because it's trying to be concise and authoritative, not experiential.
Right. It's the difference between a sterile instruction manual and a friend telling you how they actually did it.
That's the perfect analogy, and that's the content the AI is currently craving. So for brands, the immediate play isn't just to create more blog posts, it's to foster and showcase that same kind of authentic experiential content on their own sites.
So, how does a brand practically become the source instead of being part of that 61% organic click drop?
You have to build your own internal citable community. That means massively expanding your FAQ sections to answer the long tail, how do I questions you see on Reddit. It means actively soliciting and publishing detailed customer reviews that go beyond a star rating. It means creating forums or Q&A sections where users can talk to each other. You are essentially competing with Reddit to provide the best, most helpful answer.
And the goal is to have your content, not a Reddit thread, be the one cited in the AI overview.
Precisely. If you succeed, you become the destination, not the casualty. And this leads perfectly into our next question, which is how do you even begin to measure if any of this is working?
So, if the strategy is to essentially become the next Reddit for your niche, how do we even measure if that's working? Because the old metrics, like organic traffic, might not tell the whole story if clicks are dropping.
That's the fundamental shift. You have to stop measuring success solely by the volume of clicks you get and start measuring it by the frequency of your citations. The goal is to become the source of truth for the AI. So instead of tracking traffic for a how to clean a wool sweater query, you track how often your specific guide is the one featured in the AI overview itself.
But if I'm getting cited instead of clicked, am I actually winning? A citation doesn't pay the bills.
It's a valid concern. The initial data from BrightEdge shows a 61% drop in organic clicks for queries with an AI overview. However, that same study found that 84% of those overviews cite e-commerce websites as their source. So you are trading a potential direct click for a massive brand impression and positioning yourself as the ultimate authority. Think of it like a modern-day, hyper-efficient link from Google itself. That authority then flows to your commercial pages.
Okay, so it's a top-of-funnel brand play. But is there any way to track the value of that?
Absolutely. You have to get surgical with your analytics. You can use Google Search Console to see impressions for queries where you are likely being cited, even if clicks are low. More directly, tools like BrightEdge are already tracking SGE result rankings. You can manually check or use other tools to see if your URL is the one being cited for your target keywords. This is the new KPIs, citation share, not click share.
And this goes back to the type of content we talked about before. The data from Seer Interactive said 90% of AI overview answers use content from forums like Reddit.
Exactly. That's your blueprint. The AI is telling us explicitly what it values, real-world, experience-based answers. So if you're a retailer selling hiking boots, you're not just writing a product page. You're creating a definitive guide on how to break them in using quotes and photos from actual customer reviews. You're answering the specific, gritty questions people have. That's the content that gets sourced.
So it's a trade-off. You might lose some direct traffic from informational queries, but you gain immense authority that you can hopefully leverage elsewhere.
Precisely, and we're already seeing this in action. Look at a brand like Lush. They saw a significant drop in organic traffic for their informational how-to queries once AI overviews rolled out. Their strategic response wasn't to try and win those clicks back, but to pivot their SEO focus toward commercial and navigational intent keywords that are less affected by this new feature. They're adapting to where the clicks still are, while simultaneously trying to win the citations for the informational stuff.
It sounds like we need a whole new dashboard.
We really do. And that leads us perfectly into our final segment because we have to talk about the tools you need to track all of this. It's not something you can do manually anymore.
So, if the strategy is shifting, how do we even begin to track this? You mentioned needing a new dashboard, that it's not something we can do manually. What does that actually look like for an e-commerce merchant?
That's exactly the right question. Think of it like this. Tracking traditional SEO was like watching a single linear race on one screen. You could see your position and your competitors. Tracking this new reality is like trying to watch 6 different races on 6 different tracks, all happening at the same time. You need a tool built for that kind of multivariable analysis.
So, what are we watching on these 6 screens? What are the new metrics?
The first and most critical metric is AI overview impression share. You need to know for which queries an AI overview even appears, and then whether your site is being cited within it. According to the BrightEdge study, 84% of these overviews cite e-commerce websites. So the opportunity is massive. You're not just tracking rankings, you're tracking if you're the source.
And if you're not being cited, what's the next step? How do you even optimize for that?
You have to reverse engineer the answers that are winning. Look at the types of content being sourced. For example, Seer Interactive's analysis found that a staggering 90% of AI overview answers use content from forums and discussion platforms like Reddit. The AI isn't just summarizing product descriptions, it's synthesizing real human experience and advice.
So, we need to create content that sounds like a helpful Reddit comment?
In a way, yes, you need to create comprehensive, experience-based content that directly answers very specific user questions. Think detailed how to use guides versus how to buy guides. Product comparisons that are genuinely unbiased. Best X for Y, lists that are backed by real testing data. You're aiming to be the most helpful cited source, not just the top-ranking commerce page.
And the tools for this? You mentioned BrightEdge.
Yes, platforms like BrightEdge and others are rapidly building out SGE and AI overview tracking specifically because the data is so complex. You also need to be actively using Google's own search generative experience to see these answers for yourself. It's about combining robust software with good old-fashioned manual analysis to understand the intent behind the citation.
It feels like we're adding a whole new layer of complexity to an already complex job.
We absolutely are. But the brands that lean into this, that track their citation share and create content worthy of being sourced, they won't just be mitigating that 61% drop in organic clicks. They'll be building a new, incredibly powerful channel for authority and traffic directly from the answer box itself. It's not the end of SEO. It's a new chapter that requires a new playbook.